But every now and then I look at Cincinnati Magazine or other publications who list the best doctors. And I'm thinking, I'm with pretty good doctors. I'm like with Urology Group, Dr. Gary Kirsch, Alan Cordell, just retired. I'm with Dr. Kariakis, pretty good heart doctor. I'm kind of looking for a internist because mine retired Dr. Michael Mader about 2 weeks ago. But to make the list, the current best docs have to submit nomination forms naming their peers who excel in their specialties. So the only way a doctor can become a listee and participant in the biennial polling process. As a result, only doctors currently aligned with the existing best doctor can even make the list. A man that has perspective on this is Dr. Gary Kirsch, president of the Urology Group of Norwood elsewhere. Dr. Gary Kirsch, welcome again to the Bill Cunningham Show.
Thank you, Bill. It's always a great honor to be with you.
Great day to be an American, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and yours.
Thank you so much, and you the same.
Talk to me about these best doctors. I have pretty good doctors, and generally I find my doctors are not on the list. Why?
Well, that's a very good point, and the reason is there's so many lists out there, Bill, and some of them are really not grounded in any objective reality that would lead you to want to use them to choose a doctor. You just gave an example. There's one list in town associated with not Cincinnati, but Cincy magazine, very underrepresented with physicians, and the only way you can get in there is if one of your buddies recommends you. It has nothing to do with being a good doctor.
And so if Urology Group, how many docs are at Urology Group about?
About 40.
So if all 40 got together and said, you know what, let's nominate Gary Kirsch, and the other 39 sending glowing recommendations about you would all of a sudden be the top doc.
That is exactly correct. That's how it works.
It's about money. And
It is. There was another publication recently that listed rising star doctors, rising stars, and the only thing you had to do to qualify was be under 40 years old.
So then you're a rising star.
Then you're a rising star, yes, sir.
And the Best Doctors in America is an organization that makes money by selling lists of physician names. So in other words, you got to advertise, and if you advertise, then you're in.
Well, I can tell you, by coincidence, I just received, Bill, an invitation to be listed as a leading doctor of the world.
Really? Of the world?
Yes, of the world. And I investigated this, and I found out that if I didn't pay him anything, I'd get a tiny microscopic type somewhere on the internet. But if I paid him $1,200, I'd be listed prominently in their book.
So you'd be like the best doctor of the universe. You'd be a master of the world.
I'd be one of the best doctors in the world if I only gave him $1,200.
What if you gave him $2,400?
Lord knows why. I'd probably put me on the cover.
How about $3,600? You'd be head of Martians and Venusians.
Yeah, but I'd have to be Bill Cunningham to give him that kind of money. So.
I don't know about that. I always pay taxes. That's why it's unbelievable the New York taxes I pay, but that's a different issue. So talk to me now. As far as trying to find a good doc that doesn't advertise in the magazine, is it fair to say there's no objective test being done? Whether it's Covington or Ashtabula or Wilmington, there's no objective test out there. So how do you find a good doc?
Well, that's right. There's no objective test, but there are ways to do it. First of all, and there's no perfect way, but word of mouth, ask your primary care, ask your family. And I think today, Bill, although we have to be cautious with this, there is a role for going online and checking your doctor. There are some reputable online services, Health Grades, Vital Source. And why do I mention this? Because none of those magazines have anything to do with patient feedback. But there are some sources that do list real patient feedback about real experiences with real doctors. So, it's multifactorial. Unfortunately, there's nothing objective, but you have to ask your friends, your family, for people they're comfortable with, and then check them out online.
Right now, my GP, my internist, Dr. Michael Mader, finally had enough in December the 11th, happened to be my birthday. And 6 months out, he told everybody, look, I've been at this for 40 years. I want to retire. And you know what it's like to be a doc today with Obamacare and insurance companies and all that stuff. He said, I spend more time in bureaucratic messes than I spend treating patients. Now, I'm looking for a new internist or a GP, my wife and I. And I'm like every other American, what process should I go through to find one?
Well, first of all, you got to make sure that they're on your insurance plan.
Oh, well.
That's a good place to start.
Well, that's the state of Ohio, so I think that's United, I think.
Okay, so, they got to be on your plan. That's a good place to start. You might ask people who you trust, who whether they be in the medical field or just friends, who they use, and you might want to find somebody, you would want to find someone with whom you think you'll match up with respect to personality and that you'll get good service from, Bill. You also have to have an office that's willing to give you good service.
Yeah.
So these are the intangibles, but I really think asking around, checking online, and, of course, going with your insurance panel is the only thing you can really do, because there is no objective measure, and a lot of these publications, as we've discussed, are simply smoke screens. So it's difficult. It's a difficult business. But our concern, the reason we bring this to everyone's attention, is that we got to be careful with these publications and check online references and go by word of mouth.
The same thing about super lawyers.
Same thing.
All these publications have super lawyers, the top 50, the top 100, whatever. And guess what? You have to advertise in the publication in order to be a super lawyer.
Well, I wouldn't know because I'm no super lawyer, but it wouldn't surprise me because it's probably the same business model.
How does a doctor, I guess you have a doctor, right? Does Dr. Gary Kirsch have a doctor?
I do have a doctor.
Well, who's your doctor? Can you tell me?
I sure will. My doctor's Chris Sweeney.
Well, what does he do?
He's a family doc, internist.
So he knows what he's doing?
I think he's a great doctor.
Where's he located?
Evendale.
Well, that's not too far away either. I may get a hold of him.
You ought to go see him. He's great.
All right, let's talk about
I'll tell you another good doctor is Jim Lang in Evendale.
Jim Lang?
Yep.
Lange?
Yes, Lang.
Lange. I might give him a call, too. Now, talk to me about the latest treatment with prostate cancer. And a few of my friends have had it, and one did seeds, one went to MD Anderson, one went to Loma Linda. Give me a review of what a man should do in his 50s and 60s if he's got a bad prostate exam.
Well, he has to, first of all, as you know, he's got to make sure every year or two he gets the PSA test. As much as we've talked about the limitations of that test, and it's not perfect, it's still PSA screening has resulted in a 40-50% decline in prostate cancer death rate in America. So we got to get checked. Now, once we're checked, if we've got a problem, then we may have to have a prostate biopsy. Now, we have some new things coming and existing now in prostate biopsy that's making those better, which involve, in certain patients, not all, the use of an MRI associated with the biopsy to make it more accurate.
Right.
And then after we get the biopsy, the biggest thing that a lot of people aren't aware of today, many patients today, unlike in the past, because our understanding has developed, don't need any treatment at all. And that's what we call active surveillance. We might just watch them.
I like that.
You like that, and I like that. However, if you have a dangerous cancer, you won't like that, because prostate cancer, unfortunately, is still the number 2 cause of cancer death in men.
And cancer is not cancer. In other words, you said before, there's like 10 or 15 different kinds of cancer, and you get one kind of cancer, it's not so bad. You get another kind of cancer, it's bad.
That's exactly correct. And you can think of it like skin cancer. You hear people, I had a little skin cancer cut off, didn't mean anything. Another guy gets a melanoma, God forbid, he's dead. So it's the same in prostate. Now, we're doing better and better, Bill, by the use of some DNA testing that we now routinely use at the Urology Group as well, to try to define who has the dangerous cancer and who doesn't. If you don't have the dangerous cancer, you can be watched. If you have the dangerous cancer, that's when you start going down the road of these treatments you mentioned.
And now you can tell a man, if he's got prostate difficulties, what kind of cancer he has by the biopsy.
By the biopsy and some DNA testing, we can do a better job than we used to. In fact, we can send a test that will estimate, if you can believe it, believe the test, what your 10-year risk of mortality is from that cancer.
Really? Like a statistical kind of a deal?
A statistical deal, yes, sir.
That's a good deal then.
That's a good deal. If your 10-year risk of you can make your own decision. If your 10-year risk of mortality from prostate cancer is 10 or 15%, do you want to be treated or not?
I'd say no.
Well, a lot of people don't want a 10 or 15% risk of dying of cancer in 10 years.
Because if you had a gun with 10 chambers and one had a bullet in it, would you put it up to your head and pull the trigger?
I would not.
So then, let's say you're one of those 10 or 15%. What do you do? Do you get the seeds? Do you get it cut out? What do you do?
Well, now there is some variability based on the clinical condition, but frankly, today we have so many treatments that are good, almost doesn't matter what you do. Most of the people are either cured or not based on how their cancer's aggressiveness behaves.
So what do you, let me ask you then. If a guy comes to you and he's got cancer, he's got a 15% mortality over 10 years, and would you recommend seeds? Would you recommend taking it out? Would you recommend, what would you say?
Well, I would say, I'm not trying to be evasive. It somewhat depends on the patient's age, how well they urinate, if they have problems in that regard, what their quality of life issues are with respect to how important sexual function is. Some of these treatments have more of a bang against their sexual function than others. Some people aren't sexually active, so it doesn't matter. If they've got a lot of urinary difficulty, they're going to be better off having it removed so they can urinate better. If they have no urinary difficulty, they might do better with a radiation treatment.
And taking it out today is not like it was 10, 15 years ago.
No, sir. Today, taking it out, we do robotically. Most of the patients go home the next day. And of course, it's still a surgery. I don't want to minimize it, but it's not nearly like it was in the past. Just like everything else with orthopedics and all the other specialties that you hear about, our surgery is much less invasive and much more advanced, certainly, than it used to be, as are our non-surgical treatments.
All right, I'm going to come see you in January with your permission.
Well, you're always welcome. In fact, we'll make sure we've got a big red carpet rolled out.
Now, what about my friend Alan Cordell? Is he enjoying his well-earned retirement? Because my last time spent with him was a little glass of wine, a little flour, and a darkened examination room, and I felt really good.
Well, my understanding is he is enjoying his retirement. I have not spoken to him recently, although he did, I believe, come to our Christmas party, and he seems to be doing great.
Do you have any questions for me about politics, sports, geomorphology, mathematics, world capitals, something that's confused you over the years?
Well, I have a question about something that's confusing me right now, and that is I don't know what we're going to do about this Republican nomination. And where are we going to end up on this bill? Is it going to be a brokered convention? I don't know where we're going.
Well, Donald Trump, I met him. He's not a friend of mine, but I've been with him a few times. He began at 4%. Now he's at 42%. Is 42% the ceiling of what he can do or the floor? So he's got to quit attacking verbally all these other people. He's got to make individuals like conservative women. I've spoken to conservative women who are very amenable to voting for the Republican. Most of them voted for Obama the first time, then voted for Mitt Romney the second, but it didn't work out. Women tell me that Donald Trump is a bully, and he's mean, and he's cruel, and they don't want his finger on the nuclear trigger. So for him to be elected, he's got to calm it down. And I've told him this privately off the air when I had him on 2 weeks ago. You got to calm it down, Trumpster. You got to quit saying the things you're saying against Marco Rubio. You can't be so snarky. He's very snarky. And he told me, I got to be who I am, Willie. I got to be who I am. I said, well, you want to win the presidency? The way to win the presidency is to give conservative women a warm and a fuzzy and to reach out to Hispanics, especially Hispanics and Asians, to vote for you. And I don't know if he's politically capable of doing that. And if he doesn't do that, he cannot win the presidency. Bush 43 got 45% of the Hispanic vote. Romney got 23% and lost. Right now, the Trumpster is polling at 9% of the Hispanic vote. I said 9%. Now, he can win Ohio without much Hispanic vote, but he's going to lose New Mexico, Arizona. He's going to lose Virginia and Iowa and Colorado. If you lose those states, you can't win the presidency. So he can win, but he's got to grow as a candidate to a much more amenable one, especially to women.
That makes sense. I wonder if we're going to go into the convention with a clear nominee.
Well, I doubt it because I can see certainly he's not going to win Iowa. He may win New Hampshire. I don't see him winning South Carolina. And there's two big primaries. One is the Southeast Conference primary, as it's called, with Florida, Georgia, Arkansas, Alabama. The other one is the big state primary, March the 15th, with Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. So when that happens, there's going to be down to two candidates. And at that point, the cheese is going to hit the cracker. Whoever wins Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania is going to be the nominee. And that's March 15th.
It's coming fast.
It's coming fast, and the next 2 weeks are like done already. Basically, we're already the 1st of January because things go so quickly, and they start voting on March 15th in Ohio. We start voting February the 15th, and Iowa's February the 1st. And so I think when we get serious at the end of the day, I'd like to see Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz.
Well, I always like to see whoever you like to see. I know I need to follow Bill.
Marco or Ted? That's what I'll say.
Marco or Ted.
Write that down. Well, Gary, I'll come see you in January, and God bless America.
We'll roll out the carpet. Thank you, sir.
God bless you. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Let's continue with more. The line becomes available, 513-749-7000, pound 700. Billy Cunningham, the great American, live on News Radio 700 WLW.